Hello, and welcome to the Office of the Patriot, where we try to make sense out of the nonsense of the progressive left and rhino right. I'm your host, Myron Ybarra.
And I'm your co-host, Angry Mike.
America, it is the land of the free and a bastion of opportunity, especially, and to use Trump's vernacular, if you're living in one of the many shithole countries. It is one hell of an enticing place to be. So I get it. I get why people risk life and limb to try to make a better way for themselves and their families. However, their desire to become citizens or at a minimum come to the United States should not ever be the reason why they are granted legal status. In this episode of Office of the Patriot, Angry Mike and I are going to discuss Trump's policies as it relates to illegal immigration and how he and his administration are not only stemming the flow of illegal immigrants, but also removing those who shouldn't be here in the first place. One of the major components of Trump's America First agenda is closing the damn door on illegal immigration. And for those of you who have a short memory or maybe need a reminder as it relates to the illegal immigration the previous administration allowed during its tenure, here's a short compilation of the proverbial excrement show that was the fault of the ex-mumbler-in-chief, Bumbling Joe.
This morning, tensions escalating on the Texas border. Dramatic new video shows a struggle between Border Patrol and migrants in El Paso. The video shows dozens of migrants pulling aside a razor wire fence, then pushing their way past a handful of Border Patrol agents.
That was a small excerpt of episode 93 of Office of the Patriot. And to watch the entire episode, which I highly encourage you to do, the link to that presentation is in the description section below, along with all of the receipts for today's presentation. I'm sure many of you know that Donald Trump has made it priority one to not only stem the flow of illegal immigration moving forward, but removing illegal immigrants from the United States. Now, just to be clear, here at the Office of the Patriot, we are not going to use the PC term of undocumented immigrant. It's frankly disingenuous and minimizes the impact the significant portion of these people pose by being here illegally. They are and forevermore will be illegal aliens or illegal immigrants. That said, Donald Trump enacted 3 EOs on January 20th, 2025 that deal with illegal immigration and securing the border. The first one is titled, simply enough, Securing Our Borders. And under this executive order, Donald Trump is using the power of the presidency under 8 U.S. Code 1101 and Section 301 of Title III of the U.S. Code to establish physical barriers, more affectionately known as the wall, and additional staffing to support and monitor the wall. Trump also terminated the use of the previous administration's CB1 app, which was a way that the Biden-Harris administration allowed for non-vetted, dangerous criminal aliens to remain in the United States. And both of these are excellent starts to deal with a monumental problem. However, if this were my administration, I would turn an agreement we already have on the books with many other nations, the International Prisoner Transfer Program, also known as the IPTP. I spoke about this a while back. This program is an agreement between the United States and other countries where inmates that are serving time here but maintain citizenship in another country have the option to transfer out of United States prison systems to their native country's prison system. Ask me how many illegal alien prisoners have requested transfer under this program. If you guess none, you are smarter than the average bear. This program can be amended a couple of ways. First, it is, or we can make it compulsory. Basically, pack your damn bags, you're freaking going whether you like it or not. Next is to allow for illegal immigrants to be rounded up on probation or parole or pending charges to be returned to their home country under the IPTP, which would compel the receiving countries to reincarcerate these individuals as opposed to letting them free. And I would do this to ensure that these people don't just wind up or doing the U-turn and wind up being back at our border again, albeit with this administration, it's going to be significantly more difficult for them to get across again. But let's face it, it's not going to be impossible. Mike?
Yeah, there was a lot happening that the first couple of days. Actually, the first day was crazy. So the Biden administration was not only they were just incompetent, and every action they took made it easier for illegal immigrants to get into this country. So in my opinion, that's tantamount to treason because you're supposed to secure the borders. You don't have a nation otherwise. So these fucking assholes were selling sections of the border wall that the taxpayers paid for under Trump's first term, and they were basically selling them for pennies on the dollar. And the fact that Biden just completely halted the construction of the border wall and all the areas where there was, fencing on his very first day in office back in 2020 shows just, he was just an accomplice to what most of us feel was a complete invasion the past 4 years. So, granted, the border wall will not stop. The majority, will be stopped, but it's not going to be 100%. And but it'll make it easier for the Border Patrol to focus on the weaker sections, areas where they're able to sneak through, and they won't have to monitor every single square inch like a hawk, and they can focus their drones, where they're monitoring these areas. So I actually have a cousin who is very experienced. He's been working for the Border Patrol in the San Diego region of California, and he's got almost 20 years of experience. So they use drones, and they rarely see anybody trying to scale over the walls. So they work.
Agreed. Agreed. The Biden administration facilitated that invasion. The next EO is titled Guaranteeing the State's Protection Against Invasion. And if I were to summarize this EO, it's essentially the power that the president is going to wield to empower federal law enforcement to take the illegal immigrants who are already here and repatriate them to their native countries with or without the help of those countries. Colombia debacle, which is the reason for the Trump FAFO pick. That pick has been circulating social media for the last week and pissing off virtually every libtard with a keyboard. Essentially, Trump is employing the United States Constitution as a protection tool, which for all intents and purposes is the federal government's promise to the states that in exchange for the states giving up some of their sovereignty that they would have had as a standalone country, being part of this union of states, the federal government will protect them, protect each state. And that promise falls under Article 4, Section 4 of the Constitution. So what is Donald Trump going to do under this EO? Well, here's a couple of things that he's already doing.
President Donald Trump's ICE raids have led to the arrest of 538 migrants, including pedophiles, gang members, and a suspected terrorist. The sweep, part of a nationwide crackdown, aims to apprehend those who have either committed crimes in the U.S. or face serious charges in their home countries. ICE agents arrested multiple individuals across several states, including a Turkish national in New York labeled a known or suspected terrorist. Also in New York, agents took into custody an MS-13 gang member and 3 men in Buffalo with convictions for child sex offenses, rape, and stolen property. Officers in other cities also detained members of notorious gangs such as the Tren de Aragua and Barrio Azteca, as well as fugitives wanted for crimes ranging from wire fraud to murder. While some local officials have criticized the raids for allegedly exceeding legal boundaries and detaining individuals without proper warrants, ICE insists these operations focus on, quote, very heinous cases. Removals were carried out from coast to coast, including in Texas, Arizona, California, Colorado, Georgia, Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, Minnesota, Missouri, North Carolina, Utah, Washington, Puerto Rico, and beyond. Critics of the raids argue they sow fear in immigrant communities. Supporters, however, praise the action as necessary to root out serious criminals who pose a threat to public safety. This debate over how best to balance security and compassion continues to shape America's immigration policy.
Colombia pushed back against President Donald Trump's plan for mass deportations this week, kicking off a controversy between the two countries. Colombian President Gustavo Petro, a leftist and a populist, refused to accept 2 deportation flights from U.S. military planes. Colombia, which has accepted around 500 deportation flights in the past few years, said it refused to accept flights unless deportees were treated with dignity. It prompted Trump to order visa restrictions and tariffs, which was concerning to many considering about a third of Colombia's exports go to the U.S. Petro responded by ordering his own 25% tariffs on U.S. imports, which he later walked back and said he would accept deportation flights. Trump dropped the tariffs, which was a relief to many people, but he kept the visa restrictions in place until Colombia started accepting deportation flights. It resulted in people gathered outside the U.S. Embassy in Bogota on Monday and hundreds agonizing over canceled visa appointments they had waited years for.
He's also going to suspend all entries into the United States until the finding is issued that the invasion at the southern border has ceased. Who knows when that's going to happen? And finally, transnational cartels such as TDA and MS-13 and some of the Mexican drug cartels like Los Zetas and the Sinaloa cartels, among others, will be targeted and likely eliminated. I've seen a few posts around that have suggested that Trump would initiate Tier 1 military responses to combat these cartels. It's going to take a lot more than that, though. One of the problems with just going after leadership or making surgical strikes against these huge organizations is the fact that, well, they're huge. When the brass in these organizations gets knocked off, which is basically a common occurrence, that vacuum gets filled quickly. So, in order to deal with these cartels, we're going to need the cooperation of Mexico and the other South American countries to initiate massive strikes. It's not like these guys don't have any weaponry themselves. Mike, what do you think is the best way to deal with the drug cartels, the drug smuggling, or the drug running and the smuggling across our border?
So, if it was me, I wouldn't even warn the Mexican president at this point. She's already been warned, as much as she should have been. So, I would wait until we start fucking them up. Honestly, that's just me. So. She's been warned, and at this point, we should just start, maybe doing some reconnaissance using drones, sending assets, meaning people, into Mexico, northern Mexico, to spy on these cartels and, infiltrate the countryside if they have to. And at the same time, we might want to send in like special forces operators, have them staged and ready to really fuck these assholes up. I mean, we need to do some serious damage. Because they're in our country now. They're here. So yeah, U.S. Marines and National Guards at the border, that's great. But, and that given orders to shoot to kill if they're fired upon, I believe they should be able to do that. And I would deploy a lot more drones across the border to track pretty much, anybody who threatens our troops and, start blowing their asses up, light them up. So it's going to be really difficult to do surgical strikes inside Mexico against the group's bad guys because of collateral damage. We don't want to hurt innocent people. But when they start seeing their buddies get blown to shit, I think they might rethink fucking with us. And at least while the adults are in charge.
So let me guess. Shoot and ask questions later, huh, Mike? I like it. Might not be the best way to go, but I do like it. Finally, the last EO, which narrows down the criminal cartel program, is titled Designating Cartels and Other Organizations as Foreign Terrorist Organizations and Specially Designated Global Terrorists. Damn, that's a mouthful. So this EO really nails down how much influence the cartels actually have in their government of their home countries. Many of these cartels are so embedded within their home country's economy and government that it is a significant portion, or they contribute a significant portion to that country's GDP based off of that criminal enterprise, typically drug trade. And that's another reason why I believe that we would need to get the cooperation of those countries' governments to eliminate these cartels. In fact, the EO correctly identifies these cartels as quasi-government entities. So the only way to really eradicate these cartels is through surgical military campaigns in cooperation with the host country. And this would serve a twofold purpose. Obviously, we won't have to deal with the problem of organized crime right at our southern border once a significant portion of these cartels are atomized. And two, the cartel's elimination will be a huge step in the legitimizing of each of these countries' own governments, because let's face it, you can't have a legitimate government, even a socialist or communist one, when a significant portion of those government bureaucrats and politicians are controlled by outside entities. Mike.
Yeah, it sure would be nice to get cooperation from the Mexican government, but it might just be easier just to tell them to get the fuck out of the way, because there's so much corruption within the ranks of the government and within the various, law enforcement entities down there. We've seen the movies. I don't think a lot of that's, far-fetched. I think a lot of it's based on reality. And I'm not sure about their military, but their police forces absolutely cannot be trusted whatsoever. I think it's going to be a mess no matter if they help us or fight us, or if they just, do nothing. And I hope their president partners with us. But at this point, she's acting like the cartels kind of own her, so she's probably afraid for her life. And I'm sure she is. She's probably scared to death of them. But she'll be in their crosshairs the minute we start dropping bombs on these assholes. So she needs, as they say, she needs to either shit or get off the pot. And I do not envy her position at all, but she wanted it, so good luck, lady.
And now I'll close with the soft side of the Office of the Patriot, and also so it doesn't appear that I'm minimizing the problem with U.S. immigration procedure or vilifying people who are trying to come to the United States for a better way of life. Again, I do understand and I do appreciate their desire to move here, because I live here and I know how great this nation is. For what it's worth, I do believe that our immigration system is broken and needs to be revamped. We shouldn't have people waiting for months for work and student visas. And H-1B visas, the holders, should not be given priority over U.S. citizens for high-paying tech jobs. And the processing time for naturalization should be significantly shorter than it is. I believe all these things can be fixed, though. But just because they're broken now doesn't mean that a person who is not a citizen is entitled to come over illegally because the system isn't working fast enough for them or is broken. That's akin to saying, it's okay for me to steal because I'm hungry. We all know that's not how it works. To put a finer point on immigration, anything worth doing is going to be hard, as it should be, because if it wasn't, well, everyone would be doing it. And this concludes today's episode of Office of the Patriot.
If you'd enjoyed the presentation, please take the time to like, subscribe, and share this channel on your social media. We really appreciate it.
Also, please take the time to comment. Viewer engagement via comments is the major metric for channel accessibility on most social media platforms like Facebook and X and YouTube and MeWe and Rumble. The more people that like and subscribe and comment, the more this channel will come up when social and political content like this is searched for. And as always, have a blessed day and stay safe out there.